In this tutorial in CyberLink PowerDirector, we're going to look at 3 ways to design a lower third title. This comes as a request from one of my subscribers, so I thought I'd overview 3 different approaches for the same goal. We have the video here, and what we'd like to do in this video is apply a lower third title of the dentist's office and the dentist's name. Let's look at 3 different ways we can do that. I'm going to go to the title room on the left side. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the category of General. So I click on General, and then in General, we can condense it now. I'm going to look for one that's a lower third. Now, if you want to look by name, I'm going to expand this, and I could just type in the word lower here. And here are all the ones that have lower third in it. Let's take the one that's lower third 0101. And we'll take and drag that down to the video track below the video of my actual dental image here. And here we have the title. Now, there's some things that you can do with it that might make it work for you. Let's double click on it. That allows me to edit it. Let's go to the Express mode where we can see better. Now I'm going to type in a new name here under please put your text in. We'll just put Dr. Sarah Lang, and instead of sport, let's put DDS in here. And my title here, we'll click on that, select it, and we'll type in Western Dental. The other thing I can do, if I go back to advanced mode, if I look in the advanced mode, I see that I have this blank here where I have the particle. Now the particle is actually my image, the one that comes in automated. I can take that and click on that, and then I have this circle. Now that allows me to move the image around the screen. So I want this in a different location. I can move it, but of course if I do move it, I need to move my text boxes as well. But that's an option. I can't expand it or contract it or do anything else with it, but I can move it. So we'll leave it about where we started at. I just wanted you to know about that particular feature. So here we have the options. Now, if we play this, we'll go back to the beginning, comes in just like that. Now we can change the way in which the text emerges. And if we look at the animation on the doctor's name, we can change that. I'm going to highlight this, go to animation, and we'll do our in animation. And we see right now it's on this option here. I can change it, for example, to a wipe right, and the name will appear in a different way. I can do the same thing for the title. Any text that I have here, I can change the in or out animation. I can change the characteristics of the text in terms of font size, font family, font color, shadow border, all those kinds of things are available to me inside this. But I basically have to work within the structure of this particular graphic here. And let's click on OK, and then we'll play it with virtually no modifications, and here's what it looks like. So that's how you can use this in this particular case. It's not a bad lower third. Let's look at another option for this. Another option, I'm going to go to another subcategory in titles called Motion Graphics. And then in Motion Graphics, I have a host of them available. I think I'm going to take 037. Which is close to the one I'm looking for. This one here. Let's take this and drag and put this down over here. And if we play this, we're going to see the default PowerDirector and then by CyberLink. We can double click on that as well. And then we can change this when I get to title. I find it easier to edit up here for PowerDirector. I'll call this Western Dental. And then if we get to the other title, by CyberLink, now we'll change this to Dr. Sarah Lang. And there isn't much we can change. We can change the color. We can change the font family. We can't change the font size. We can expand the entire title by dragging on it and making it larger or smaller. But we don't have nearly the editing flexibility that we might have in another kind of setting. So that's the second option. You can use something that you find in the Motion Graphics title segment. And if we play this one here, we're going to see a very different kind of lower third. It's got animation, and you're limited to the design of that. Let's take a third way in which to do this. And I'm just going to go back into my title options, and I'm going to take text only. And we'll do the default my title. Now this takes a little more work, but I think you'll see it gives you a lot more options in terms of getting anything you really like. So we'll take the my title and we'll double click on it. And here we'll go for Western Dental. And then we'll reposition that and we'll resize it. Let's go to a font size of something like a 22 and make it bold. I'm going to put a small border on it. Let's make a border and let's take the border color and we'll use a black border and click on OK. Let's make it smaller. Let's go down to something in the 2 area. Okay, so there is my border. Now I want to use a backdrop. So if I click on backdrop, if I click on solid color backdrop, that will give me a backdrop. Now you notice the default normally is that it is opaque. It's 70%. If I turn all the way up, there I see the full color. We can use this color or pick any other color we like. Let's pick something in a reddish brown. And so we'll move the title and the border moves with it. Now if I don't want the lower third border to be all the way across the screen, I have another option. I can choose to fit with title. And if I want it longer on either side, all I need to do is move to my text and enter spaces. And I can make it as wide or narrow as I want. And I can use a curved rectangle or I can use a non-curved rectangle on the corners. So there would be my Western Dental. Now if I want to get her name in too, I can do some other things as well. So we'll click on our text tool and we'll add her name in. And let's make it smaller. We'll change the font size for her name in contrast. Let's make it maybe an 18 and move down here. And I can likewise add a backdrop to this. And we'll also have to add the opacity back to 100%. I cannot add an animation if I have a backdrop, because if I do that, it will remove the backdrop. It can have one or the other. But I can emulate an animation by doing some keyframes. So I can take, for example, the position of this element here, the dental title. Let's start out and set a keyframe at the left, and we're going to move in a bit. Let's move in about a second, and I'll set another keyframe. I'm going to go back to the first keyframe. I'm going to take my object and drag it to the left. So now when we play this, we're going to see the backdrop and the title move in, which is not a bad effect. Then I can take the other title that I have here, her name, and I can do the same thing if I want, or I can do something else. I can make it perhaps fade in. We'll wait till the Western Dental is in here, and then I can make it all of a sudden appear, or I can even add a opacity value to cause it to fade in. Let's do that. We'll take our opacity value, set one here, and we'll move in just a little bit and set another opacity value. Our text here, we're under object settings. Opacity is 100%. That's where I want it there. I'm going to move back to use a left arrow, and I'll start out with opacity of 0. So it'll fade in her name along with this bar. Let's see if that works. We'll go back to the beginning. Now we've got a motion bar coming in and then her name popping up that way. So that is a way to use a border and still add either opacity values to make it fade in or fade out, or position values to move it when you're using this technique to try to create a lower third on your own. There we go. So that's another option. So you have many variations. You can design your own. You can use one or more of the design lower thirds. And I would recommend looking inside the motion graphics subcategory or the general category in your title room. That's an overview of 3 different approaches in CyberLink PowerDirector.